Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
So, more than two things happened this week in OB. We've got good things that happened. Softball, like the way they've started.
I don't know, right?
Yeah. Baseball, fantastic.
Fantastic.
Right? There's other things happening that are good. There's this whole basketball situation that's got me kind of a little bit in my thoughts, right? So where do we start? Do we start with the good? Do we go right into the bad? I'll let you be the program director of TexAgs Radio today.
Let's talk baseball. 1 run in 3 games.
Yeah.
Only 6 walks. Our man Nick Savage looked it up and said that last year the fewest number of walks in a 3-game series was 9.
I'll take that.
So
I'll
you've
take
already
6.
Cut that by
3 in the first weekend.
by 33%.
Yep. By the way, we are TexAgs Radio.
And by the way, Ryan Brauninger told us, hey, I think this team's has a chance to set a school record for home runs. Well, they go out and hit 5 or 6 in the first week.
They sure did. They did
weekend.
We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations, and this is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of morning by going to texags.com/coffee. OB, I had a tweet come my way this weekend.
All right.
Nuño, you called it. All right, I forgot how they phrased it, but I called it. And I went back to look at my notes because every once in a while I get stuff right. When we did bank on it, my exact quote was, or not quote, my note was, Jace with 3 homers this weekend. What did Jace do?
Got 3 homers.
And Prager would strike out 9 in 6 innings. Prager struck out 9 in 5 innings.
So
Buddy!
you even undersold him.
Buddy, I'm good.
Man, you are. What are the lottery numbers this week?
I also said another game where the big 3 are all in double figures, but a better game. A little off when it comes to basketball.
Well, being a little off was on basketball was kind of an A&M thing this week or last weekend. Yeah, that was disappointing. Not completely surprising. A&M does struggle on the road. Alabama's really good, but I thought A&M would be more competitive.
It was not a good showing. The entire season changed on one game. Vanderbilt. It's changed it all. The rest of the way we look at it, can they, of course, go on a streak and win? But as of right now, the information that we have, what a difference a week makes. Because a week ago today, had they split this week, we'd be talking about they could still be a 7 or 8 seed. Right now, we're not sure they make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, what do they got? 5?
5 left, I believe it is. Yeah,
I was going to say 5 quadrant 1 wins. I think it's 5.
Turned into 6. I think because Florida became 1.
All right, so that's what you look at and think. Okay, that's what I can cling to. And you got South Carolina coming up at home, and A&M plays well at home. And I think that South Carolina game is going to be huge, whether or not A&M. But what is just as huge is Arkansas at home.
Yep.
I mean, that's it. You can't lose to bad teams at home, especially at home.
The season, if they lose to Arkansas, which I don't think they will.
I don't think they will.
Right? But if they lose to Arkansas, it's not over, but it's pretty damn close. your NCAA tournament hopes. It's not over.
Yeah.
But, like, if you're losing to Arkansas and you're losing to Vandy and you're losing to Arkansas earlier, sure, you could beat the big teams. But what do you think the committee's going to weigh more?
In the past, now I know the committee changes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the past, the committee hasn't done any favors, and they've looked more on to where A&M failed than where A&M succeeded.
Yeah.
Hopefully, they'll look at 6 quad 1 wins and say, man, how do you
keep that out? Right. 6-6 in SEC play. A week ago, they were a couple games out. OB.
Yeah,
2 games behind first place a week ago.
You lost 2 games against 2 of the weaker teams in the conference on last play shots.
Yep.
Man, it's that close from the narrative being completely different. But you didn't win those games, and you got behind Arkansas up there by 20. Explain that, and you could never get any separation from Vanderbilt. But weird things, I don't know what it is about A&M when they go up to play basketball at Vanderbilt. It's just, I don't care how bad Vanderbilt is or how good A&M is. It's just a
perception-wise, though, right? Mm-hmm. Look, we know this team is going to play hard. We know typically they don't get blown out. I mean, that was a blowout. But the Vanderbilt game has changed the entire perception of the season because that Bama game, I don't want to call it, it wasn't a must-win as in like your season's on the line if you don't win. But at least you save face. You beat Bama and you beat Tennessee within a week. Now you're on a 2-game losing streak. You come home against an Arkansas team you have to beat. And then you have to split Tennessee, South Carolina. Have to.
Probably.
Because you're 6-6, you got 6 games left. If you go 3-3, I don't know if that's a maybe tournament team, right?
Right. Then you're holding your breath, and you're again based on committees and A&M in the past in all sports.
Yep.
It just doesn't seem like you ever get a break.
Which are the should be wins? Should be like
Arkansas,
Mississippi State
at home. Yeah, I'd take Mississippi.
Mississippi
A&M
State also 6-6. By the way,
I would take Mississippi. I'd take A&M over Mississippi State at home. I would take Arkansas. I would take A&M over Arkansas at home, and
A&M on the road at Ole Miss. A&M on the road at Georgia.
Well, yeah, and yet anytime A&M goes on the road, it's dicey, as we've seen in Arkansas and at Vanderbilt.
They should beat Georgia. Should.
Oh, I think they're a better team.
Yeah, it should. So if you win the should games,
4-2 to finish.
You got to go 4-2.
If you win the should games.
Wait. Show me the should games are Georgia,
Arkansas, Georgia, Mississippi State, and Ole Miss.
You think Ole Miss is a should win?
I thought they should. Well, again, I think it gets dicey on the road, but I think they're a better team. I think they let that one get away by going into deep freeze in the last 3. Now, I thought they had that game against Ole Miss here on the. I thought they had it pretty much.
I'll answer like
guaranteed.
this: I don't think Ole Miss is they should win.
Okay, a could win.
But if you win those games that you should win, then I'm back to thinking you should win Ole Miss. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like if you take care of those tasks that we just went over and you get to Ole Miss, then I think you should win against Ole Miss. But if you struggle in the games that you should win, then no, Ole Miss doesn't become a should win anymore.
Well, if you win the games you should win and don't win the games you could win, and I'm saying then you've beaten Arkansas and you've beaten Georgia and you've beaten Mississippi State, but you don't win the games you could win like Tennessee and South Carolina, Tennessee on the road, and you go into that last game against Ole Miss on the road, I think it becomes a must win.
Yeah.
Because then I think then you may put yourself in a position, that you got to win the tournament in Nashville.
Just like we saw in 2021.
And because as we saw a couple of years ago, getting to the final isn't necessarily going to be enough. Now, again, you got 6 quadrant 1 wins, and I wonder how many teams in the country have more than that. But isn't their net down to around, I haven't looked it up lately, I think it's around 43 or something like that.
I thought it was 47.
Okay. And then you also,
according to this, 45th.
Okay. Then you get into, if you don't improve it, you get into, on that tournament weekend, you get and look at all the other tournaments that are going on around the country and hoping and praying that the teams that are supposed to win.
Yeah, you need them to win.
No upsets.
And you need the bubble teams to lose.
Yes.
Early. It's I don't know if sad's the right word. It's just this is who
confounding.
They should be better. They should be better by the natural laws of repetition with your group, right? You have lost some pieces. Everybody in the country's lost pieces.
Yeah. I mean, you got Arkansas coming in here tomorrow night. I was talking to my friend, everybody's friend, Bob Holt, the reporter up in Arkansas last night, and he was saying Arkansas's had 15, I think he said, different starting lineups this year because they've had so many injuries and guys leave and da. So they've had all kinds of problems. Yes, they've had – look, here's the bottom line. This is a team that has beaten Iowa State. This is a team that has beaten Tennessee and Kentucky and lost to Vanderbilt and Arkansas. You talk about schizo.
What do you think the why is? If we could put a why on it.
They for whatever reason, I can't give you this, why they're not good on the road, but they're not good on the road. I don't know why that is.
Are you talking about football?
Yeah, I guess it could have been.
Everything you were just saying, I'm like, hold on. Wait, what sport are we talking about? If I daydreamed for a little bit and I caught back up, I'm like, wait, we're we talking Jimbo? What are we talking about here?
It has been, I know they're frustrated because
of course
because they know they're better than their record indicates. But ultimately, as they say, you are what your record says you are.
And I will say this, and I'm sorry, guys, you may not want to hear it. This team has too much history proving that they can get it right. They're running out of time. Like, they are running out of time. But at the lowest points of this season, and there's been a couple of lows, Vandy game, Arkansas game, what else am I mean, low points of this season. This Alabama game was
losing at home to LSU was pretty low.
Look, if they get to 10-8, I think we'll all be like, you know what? Considering all the drama, players getting hurt, players not playing, the losses that
10-8, I think they're in.
But I think we are okay with 10-8. I'm
considering everything.
Yeah, considering the whole picture, and that's why I say I won't close the door on this season because history has proven they'll get it right. They'll get part of it right. They should get back on their winning ways. Yeah. Should.
I guess we're so much everything you just said is right. But the frustration is that by winning on the road against Arkansas and Vanderbilt, if you've got those two, seeding's the issue, but you will have pretty much, at least at this point, appear to have taken getting into the tournament out of the hands of committees.
Had I told you on October 31st, Halloween of this year, A&M would be 6-6 in league play and a bubble team in the tournament, would you have believed it?
I would not have.
I would have believed that they wouldn't have been one of the top 3 teams in the SEC, just because I think there's good teams in the SEC. I would have never thought that they would have been in this middle tier. I don't even know if middle tier. Show me the standings.
Well, they're in the middle. They're in the middle. I mean, 6-6 puts you right in the middle. 9 out of 14, but tied for 8, tied for 7.
Couple games out of, they were just in that bunch with Florida and Auburn. They were just a week ago.
Yeah, you've beaten Florida, you've beaten Tennessee. I mean, you've beaten Kentucky, you've beaten 3 of the top 6, and it's you lose to number 13 Vanderbilt, 12 Arkansas, 10.
And South Carolina's had a rough week too. I think they've lost 2 over the week, so. Win, if you get it, isn't going to look as pretty.
I don't care. That's going to be.
You need it.
If you don't pull off, something special, you got to beat Arkansas and then pull off. If you don't pull off something special in Knoxville, then that game against South Carolina is going to be huge because it's the best team you got left.
Yeah. Not what I expected to see. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up at 979-693-1150. We will answer that on the Brian Foley Law hotline, or you can text us 979-693-1150. 1150. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. And by the way, OB, did you know I'll be at the Angry Elephant with Billy Liucci coming up real soon.
I've heard about that.
We'll be at the Little Elm location. Let me get you the exact
Little Elm,
details.
I know where that is.
Yeah, it's right
That's
by
where
Frisco.
Meredith is from. Yeah, on the way from, maybe I don't know. I thought it was between Louisville and Denton because
I think it is, but I think it's pretty close to Frisco.
My grandparents, when I was a kid, lived in Denton, and I remember whenever we'd drive up there, we'd always
6 miles away.
Garza's Little Elm. And
Little Elm and Frisco are 6 miles away.
Okay.
So I was just in Frisco yesterday. We will be at That Angry Elephant coming up very, very soon on Saturday, March the 2nd. Billy will be there. I will be there from 5 to 7 p.m. By the way, there's baseball going on in Arlington that weekend, and, of course, A&M basketball as well. And then at the Magnolia location on Saturday, March 9th, 1 to 3 p.m. Magnolia is just about an hour away from here in College Station. So hopefully you can come hang out with us. We'll chit-chat. We'll do some Q&As. We'll have a good old time. We go to Matthew Dawson there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. What's up, buddy?
How's it going? Guess what today it is today? It is
President's
Day. It's President's Day. And A&M baseball dropped the President's Day jerseys with George Bush, the 41 at 100, right?
Yeah.
Marking his 100th birthday, I believe, is on June 12th. It would be this year, so rest his soul. But the jerseys are awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at those. Those jerseys are awesome.
They are awesome. They are.
But I wanted to highlight some other, Aggie presidents. I wanted to mainly name George Solomon Washington. We know him for crossing the Delaware River, but we don't really know him all that well for crossing the Mississippi from New Orleans into College Station. And, to this day, he's kind of a party animal, throwing a lot of block parties. You can catch those guys at the rim. And, yeah, I mean, everyone's invited. So, especially, he's not discriminatory to enemies either.
Well played, Matthew. Go ahead, Obi. I see your mind working.
First of all, I was impressed. Solomon is George Washington's middle name?
No.
He's making it a thing.
So I was hoping that you would buy into the bit here. There's going to be more. I hope you buy in.
I was just focused on the president's part. And I was thinking to myself, how interesting that A&M has a player named Solomon Washington, and George Washington's middle name was Solomon.
They're related.
So I didn't.
Who would have known?
All right, well, here's a trivia question. What is George H.W. Bush's, what does the H.W. stand for?
Herbert Walker, yeah.
Good job, Olin. Good job. Well, both of you guys actually got that, so that's good. Yeah. Zachary Wade Taylor is the next president I want to highlight. His most notable achievement, signing a treaty that stated that any canal made in Central America would allow both American and British ships to pass. So, I mean, to this day, you can catch Wade Taylor, going coast to coast, taking folks.
Every one of those canals.
I like what he's doing here. He's being clever.
Yeah.
And I'm learning. So didn't know the relationships with the presidents.
He's
here.
out Luke Evangelist.
he has.
No one can do that. But next one I want to highlight, Jace Jimmy Carter. What is he most known for? Well, honestly,
Jace Jimmy Carter.
I mean,
I don't know if that was his best work, but
if you'd have gone to James,
Jimmy Jace Carter, would that have been better? Jimmy Jace Carter. Actually, fun fact, I got to a trivia at a bar one night. He is actually the first president to introduce a computer in the White House. Believe it or not.
I'll believe it because you told me.
He's the guy that the president that went and gave away that canal that the other president.
Right. All right, what else?
Funny how things tie in. How about James Olin Buchanan is the last one that I'll highlight. He was born in 1791, so
that's true.
230 years old, something like that. His political views are very well known to everyone, but he's most known for his unwavering love for Fargo's rib tips.
Yeah, James Buchanan was the only president that was never married.
Is that right?
He may have been the only gay president.
Hey everyone, welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
There's speculation.
Speculation, huh? On Wikipedia?
Reddit? No, but because there was speculation before any of those things existed.
I don't know how to respond from that.
His sister was the first lady.
Is that right?
Yeah, because he wasn't married, so he had to come up with some.
I don't think I knew that. I appreciate the history lesson.
And you learn all kinds of things. You learn that George Washington's middle name is Solomon on this show.
They called him Solo back in the day.
Solo, because he was number one.
He was number one.
He was the first.
El numero uno. Tired of living with that chronic joint pain in your shoulders, pain in your hips or your back? I've got exciting news for you guys. You need to reach out to our friends there at QC Kinetics. You don't have to go through another year of pain, right? There's no reason to have that. The old ways are gone. There's no reason to have, with all these changing healthcare things out there. The old ideas like steroids and surgery are no longer your only options. QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative, non-surgical, drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. So, again, you got pain in your knees, you got pain in your back, you got shoulder pain, wherever the pain may be, you need to make sure you reach out to QC Kinetics because they're going to help you living your best life ever, right? QC Kinetics uses state-of-the-art treatments that harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. So use the revolutionary approach, right? Get to feeling better, get long-term pain relief fast with the best thing, no downtime. You go in, you go out, you go back to living the life you want to live. Make 2024 the year that you reclaim your mobility and get your independence. Walk, run, play, jump rope, you name it. You can do it all without the danger and trauma of surgery and without those harmful drugs. Call QC Connect right now for a free consultation. Here's the phone number. I'll tell it to you slowly. 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000.
They had 26 offensive rebounds in that game.
TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Look, people are mad. I get it. They want more from their basketball team, and people are frustrated. Calvin responds on the TexAgs chat to me. He goes, Nuño, respectfully disagree on Aggie hoops. Buzz proved skeptics wrong in the past, not this year. Home loss to LSU, followed by losses to Arkansas and Vandy, and a blowout L to Bama. This team is serious danger of missing the tournament. You ask why? Pretty simple. Lost a key component heading into the season. So did other teams. Had a few injuries. So have other teams. Buzz simply won't Bring in a true point guard with the portal. No excuse. He relies on D taking a charge. New rules 1. So, go ahead.
The year's not over yet.
Well, and Calvin, by the way, respectfully, you did tell me, I think a week ago today, I might be wrong, that you were wrong about this Aggie team, and now you feel you're right again. I just think there's too much evidence to write off this team over the years. Now, look, the trajectory isn't good.
No.
The perception isn't good. The arrow's pointing down. But luckily, there's a season. Right? And it's not over yet.
And like you said, they've have a history of making a run and fixing it and things like that. Now, does that guarantee anything? Of course not. Of course it doesn't. And they did some good things the other day, but they had 26 offensive rebounds. I think that's the third most they've ever had as a program.
That's pretty darn good.
They got 29 once against Prairie View and 28 once against Oral Roberts. So to do it against a major team like Alabama, but there's always two sides to that. If you get 26 offensive rebounds, that means you missed a lot more shots.
Yeah.
And you got to start making more shots if they can.
I'm telling you,
playing better defense.
They dominated the offensive glass, right? Yeah. They went to the line way more, right? And they lost
3 times.
But they lost the turnover battle by 2.
They had such I think an 8-game stretch where they had less than 10 turnovers.
Yeah.
And that's key for them. And now they've had a couple of games in a row where they've been around a dozen or more. So that's a little bit concerning. They had 4 turnovers like in the first 2 minutes.
OB, I think here's the problem. We all, you, me, the fans, the staff across the street, all expected this to be a great season, right? Yeah. Last season was a great season with a terrible finish in the tournament, right? They're one of their worst performances. Not their worst, but not a good performance, right? We expected this year to be the same kind of feeling as last year, and maybe even more when it comes to tournament time because of what they had coming back. So no matter what, the way this season has gone has been disappointing, no matter what, right? And that's part of the problem. That all being said, I still think they can win the games that they're supposed to, and if they do, they will be in the tournament, and we will all be talking about oh, we dodged a bullet, we played well when we needed to.
Yeah, and again, I think what has so many people bewildered is what we talked about a little bit earlier. This team beat Iowa State when you were down 20.
Yep.
And they beat Kentucky. And they beat Tennessee. And in fact, they routed Tennessee.
They beat that.
And I mean, you've taken 2 teams, Tennessee and Iowa State, that I think have been ranked in the top 10 this year. And you took, you did great things against them. And then, yeah, is it bizarre that you lost at home to LSU? Of course. And then you get down 20 to Arkansas. Now, here's something that Arkansas, if I'm not mistaken, was a road game right after you beat Kentucky. And then Vanderbilt's a road game right after you beat Tennessee. So 2 of your biggest wins, you lost on the road in the very next game.
I think sometimes people just want you to have this definitive take when it comes to a team, right? And I'm not going to be Skip Bayless and be wrong all the time, right? Like, here's my definitive take is sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. That might be good enough for the tournament. It's not good enough to win the SEC, and that's disappointing. On its own, that's disappointing.
You ever had a good on a date and it wasn't going very well, but at some point it changed and might have finished great?
No, never.
Really?
I've
yeah.
only been
I've
with
had some of those.
I've been with Elizabeth since I was 12.
Wasn't going well, and then you can go out on a date with your wife, and maybe at some point, it's not going well, but you get back on track and you finish in a blaze, right? Matthew Dawson is over there saying, I'm sure he dates a lot. He's saying, yeah, that happens to me all the time.
Look.
So the point is, I'm not ready to end the date yet.
Yeah, well, there's too many games left. What good is it going to do to end the date, right? Like, It's not even midnight yet. Exactly. She hasn't had her. Never mind, I'm not going to go there. But you understand my point. I am skeptical. I am worried. I still do think they win the games they're supposed to. I still think they will. And then if that's good enough to get in the tournament, if it's not, well, then you have Vandy to blame. You have Arkansas to blame. Right? It's not the Alabama game.
The game that they're supposed to win that I'm going to be concerned about is Georgia. And you asked me why.
It's on the road.
It's on the road. At home, A&M plays really well, except against LSU. That one's the outlier that I can't understand.
What? And he says he's done. Good teams are consistent. Ags are anything but consistent.
But I agree with that.
Great teams are consistent. You can't say the Aggies aren't a good team when they are a 5. They're an average team. Their record says they're average when it comes to conference play. They're average.
Yeah.
And by the way, a lot of the conference is average.
Right. And again, that's why so many A&M fans are frustrated and want to bang their head against the table because prevent the last second shot against Arkansas where Tron Mark just brought the ball right down the court and then something very similar against Vanderbilt. Just get one last defensive stop, and we're not having any of these discussions. They've got beat at Alabama, but that's Alabama's they're really good. And it was on the road, and but so everything changes.
Before we hit a break, let me read this. SB, this team goes as Wade goes. He's just not a consistent player. That's the deal. He can be reckless. Buzz has got him to clean him up at times. Other players stepped up. Here's what I think about Wade. I think Wade, as good as he is, and he can be great, a lot of his game is predicated on having help around him. When he's got help around him, he doesn't have the physicality or the body type to withstand some of the pressures that the defense throw at him. But when he has help and he's got a little bit of a look, there isn't a team in the SEC that wouldn't play him as a starting guard on their team, I believe.
Here's what I think about Wade. And I'm going to have to go way back to 1993 when I was having a discussion with Tony Baroni about David Edwards, and who was a point guard.
Yep.
And he said, David Edwards is not a great shooter, but he's a great scorer. And now Wade's a better shooter than David Edwards was, but I don't know that I want to call him a great shooter. How many times have we seen Wade's line look like the last one? He was 4-15 at Alabama. But Wade can freaking score, and when he gets hot, now he didn't have Boots or Henry Coleman against Florida Atlantic, but he goes out and scored 30-something, and they barely lost, but still they lost. He didn't have, I think, who was out against UH? Was it both? Did Henry get? No, Henry played because he missed.
I think it was just Boots.
But Boots was out, and he goes out and he plays great. But he is streaky, just like the texter was saying.
He is streaky. He's our guy. I love him. Ice water in his veins. You give him the ball late. But his game, when defenses focus on him and they take him out of the equation, and I know Boots offensively had a nice game.
Yeah, Boots is 20 points in 4 straight games now.
Yeah, and this is the first time they've lost this season when he's scored 20 or more. But beyond that, he does need some help. And Alabama's a bad matchup for A&M. They are. Everybody can score on that team. That team can flat out score.
And they can shoot, and quite frankly,
and A&M couldn't shoot that day.
And A&M's, quite frankly, has had some issues defending the 3-point line this year.
Let's look a little college football when we come back, OB.
All right.
Your buddy Dennis Dodd, he has a little article. College football numbers are down, lowest scoring seasons since 2009. Let's kind of get into some of the reasons maybe for that. Might just be a year. Is it a trend? We'll get into it. Right now we're talking Heritage Films. They make documentary films for your families. Your dad's got a story. Your mom's got a story. You've got a story. Everybody's got a story. It's like Oprah, right? But it's the truth. We all have a story that needs to be preserved and told. If you got a family business, a family ranch, or a patriarch in your family, and you want to tell that story in a 2-hour documentary, Netflix-style documentary, let Chance McClain and his team do that for you. He did it for my dad. Awesome. And it's the kind of thing when you watch it, I think it'll be a little emotional watching it as a family, to be honest with you. But the beauty is you get to watch it again. It's a Facebook memory that you get to keep for the next generation and the generation after that. You can also do the Year Flicks, which is a shorter option. It's a 20-minute Q&A, more reserved for the youngers. It's more of a benchmark video, question and answer about some of the cool things. What are you into for your kids, right? 6th grade year, 9th grade year, freshman year in college, whatever it may be. What movies are you watching? Who are your close friends? Give me some memories from the school year. Like these kind of questions, Q&A form where you get to learn about your kid in a different light and get to preserve that for a long, long time. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341 is Heritage Films.
Interesting, because we discussed earlier whether or not James Buchanan, why was he the only bachelor president, and then we come back with the Village People.
I could just picture Olin Buchanan in 1981 just jamming at the disco doing the YMCA.
I never was. I was more in the country bar back then.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sure they would play it though. They had that, country bars. They do. All right, time to do the hits.
I see that song played more like at sporting events,
yeah.
Right? So all the little kids can do it.
Yeah.
It was catchy. It was a catchy tune.
TexAgs Radio, we are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creation. So, OB, I teased Dennis Dodd's article, and I think it's a good talking point for this morning. College football scoring down last year. And I think the easy answer for that is the new clock rules, right? Like that would be the reason for it. But as Matthew Dawson was telling us at the break, it's 5-year trend now that each year the numbers are going down. He goes into some reasons for it, but just initial thoughts on that hearing that statement.
Well, I don't know. I would wonder. I'd like to see what the actual numbers are, but I would wonder if this. I think a lot of things are cyclical.
Cyclical, yeah.
And maybe 5 years, 6 years ago, I don't know if college football scoring was at an all-time high, but maybe it was pretty high.
It was, yep.
And defensive coordinators start catching on.
That's what I think it is.
To what offenses are doing, and they start adjusting, and scores come down, and then eventually you're going to see offenses adjust to what defensive coordinators
100%.
doing. And I think
that's what I think it is.
Yeah.
I think with enough time, when something's new, it's hard to stop, right? You don't know how do we do this? You got 5 wideouts. You know, when the run and shoot was a thing, and then it kind of came back to the norm, and then they found different ways to use wideouts and tight ends and using your backfield and running quarterback. And then QB is all right. We're gonna put a spy on him, and we're gonna do this. And I think with evidence and time, people catch up. Let me read you some of the numbers. Average scoring was down to 27.78 points per game, the lowest since 2009. Total offense was down.
Take out Iowa, and that goes up over 30.
Right. Total offense was down for the 5th consecutive year at 385 yards, lowest since 2010. Average yards passing, 229.55, lowest since 2010. Average yards rushing, 156.15 since 2009. And then the average touchdowns per game down to 3.47, lowest since 2008. LSU led the nation with 45.5 points per game. The lowest scoring average of the top team in that category since the University of Houston back in 2009 at 42.2 points per game. Second time in 5 seasons that LSU has led the country with scoring, by the way, according to this note here.
Well, yeah, 2019, that LSU national championship offense was amazing with Joe Burrow and Jordan Jefferson and all those guys.
But I think it's exactly what you said, that, and he's got some other reasons in here we can get into, but when there's enough evidence, you find ways to expose it, right? Like the more you see it, the more like, okay, I see what they're doing here. Oh, I see this wrinkle. Oh, I see what this OC likes to do on a consistent basis. And I think that is all part of it. And it's a chess match, and sometimes that chess match takes 5 years to figure out, and then it flips.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. I would not be surprised if maybe as early as this year, you see it start climbing again.
23 numbers continue to interrupt what was a 30-year trend. From 1993 to 2002, scoring increased each year, and the top 10 scoring seasons have all occurred since 2012. So overall,
since the year A&M went to the SEC.
It all changed then. Blame Johnny. Since 2020, when teams have averaged 29.18 points a game, scoring has declined by 4.8 points per game. All-season high of 30.8 points per game in 2016.
In 2020, it would make total sense.
Yep.
Because you're like, for instance, you're talking about the average, right? Well, in 2020, A&M didn't play any non-conference games. They only played SEC teams. So your average would be boosted by playing the Prairie Views and
100.
Abilene Christians and those non-conference games in which you typically, Appalachian State notwithstanding, but you typically put up huge numbers against. That would affect your average.
SB says the same thing has happened in the NFL. NFL teams have actually reused old offensive schemes as defenses adjusted to the modern pass schemes.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the not too distant future, some coach comes back in college football and he brings back, the Nebraska power game, because you've got everybody wanting to play fast, and your defensive players are smaller because you got to be faster. And now I'm going to put up and I'm going to put up just a big power running team and run over smaller guys.
Follow me here. If I'm a casual fan, I don't need record-breaking Hawaii scoring. I need scoring, some scoring, right? But if it's my team, I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you win 3-0.
Yeah.
Just win the freaking game, bro.
That 2012 season at A&M was pretty glorious, and it was so much fun to see your team go up and down the field, right, and score. But did it feel any different than when R.C. Slocum's teams were playing great defense and you're winning because you had a great defense. Just win. I don't care how you do it.
All right, we're going to open up the phone lines right now and the text lines. I got a question for everybody. We'll start doing this on Monday. What you learned about blank? What you learned about A&M basketball this week? What you learn about A&M baseball this week? What you learn about A&M softball? What other topic can we throw out there? What did you learn about? I want to hear from you. 979-693-1150.
You know what I learned?
What'd you learn?
And this is going to sound funny. It's about it concerns A&M baseball. Okay. I learned. At TexAgs, we like to crack on each other a lot. I always say, if you're thin-skinned or you get your feelings hurt, don't work at TexAgs because people are going to crack on you, starting with Billy all the time.
Right.
But we also give credit where credit is due. And I was driving around heading down to Navasota yesterday.
I know where you're going with this.
Ryan freaking Brauninger. I like to make fun of him every opportunity I get, but he was doing color on baseball.
Yeah.
He was outstanding.
Yeah, he was great. I actually didn't hear it, but I know him to be great. So
he was outstanding. A lot of first of all, he sounds good on the radio, but a lot of good information, a lot of good insight from a guy that actually played. I hate to. It's complimenting Ryan is like throwing gas on a fire, but I'm gonna have to throw some of that gas, man.
So you learned that Bronny is a fantastic color guy.
I thought he was fantastic.
What did you learn about the Aggie basketball team?
I don't know if I learned anything because everything I saw is what I already knew. I think, what did I learn? I learned that they're, I don't even know if I learned it from Saturday because I was going to say I learned that their NCAA tournament March Madness hopes are getting a little precarious, but that came from the game before.
I think I learned it confirmed. This is who they are.
Yeah,
right.
Confirmed. I'll agree with that.
I think it's been confirmed that they can beat anybody, they can lose to anybody, and if things go south, they go real south.
They need to.
That's the only time they've been blown out. Let's be honest.
They need to be more careful with the basketball, but it's only been a recent issue.
Right.
But Buzz always says, "Hey, we got offensive rebound. We got to take care of the ball because we need more possessions." And if you're turning over the ball, you're giving away possessions.
Yeah. All right, let's hit a break here. We'll get to some of those out there. I see some of you already responding on what you learned this week. What'd you learn about A&M baseball? What'd you learn about A&M basketball? What'd you learn about softball? What'd you learn about anything? I don't care. What'd you learn about didn't Tiger Woods have to exit this weekend? I think he
did. He?
Yeah, I think he got injured again. I saw a picture of him looking very devastated.
No woman hit him with a 5-iron.
No, okay. not that I know of, OB. Time now for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're on Highway 21. They're in Caldwell. They're online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. They have amazing deals on their website that change every month out there. If you've purchased a vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet, you know they're going to help you before the purchase, after the purchase, during the purchase, every step of the way. They've got pre-owned vehicles. They've got great vehicles. They got it all. They got a great inventory as well. So when you're looking for a vehicle, that's where you want to start your search because, hey, they're going to give you a great trade-in value for whatever vehicle that you have. And beyond that, they're also going to make sure that you get the best price that you can get on that vehicle and drive away a very satisfied customer because we all have different needs, and they're going to help you find that right vehicle for your needs and for the time in your family. It's about a 15-minute drive. We're talking the very edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do the business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They are on Highway 21 in Caldwell, and they're online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations.
You might say the Aggie basketball team's trying to stay alive in the NCAA tournament discussion.
Yeah, look, I want to believe. I want to believe. That's where I'm at. I want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
It is disappointing. There's no doubt about that. It ain't over.
It ain't over.
And when you've got one of the better guards in the country,
maybe two.
When you got one of the better backcourts in the country, look.
And again, 6 quadrant 1 wins.
Yep, absolutely. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I know that Matthew Dawson's got some text messages for us. I know on the YouTube page, it was somebody. Who was it? Was it Dan mentions that Tiger got the flu, and David B says, I didn't think more information could come from one human being, but Bronny brought 200% on the call this weekend.
He really did. And I actually had to send him a text message. I listened to you, and you're great.
Yeah, he was great. And tripping Ag, I learned this weekend, being an Aggie is the most wild, emotional roller coaster. Ain't that the truth?
Wait, you only learned that this weekend?
Reconfirmed.
Yeah.
Right? Matthew, what else you got for us, buddy?
Well, speaking of potential quad 1 wins, text from Katie says, morning, guys. Does our win against Ohio State mean more now since they just beat Purdue? If you remember, Chris Holtman got fired, got the can from Ohio State. Interim coach comes in and beats Purdue. So how are we feeling about that?
I just want to win the games in front of us.
Yeah,
I mean, the quads are what they are.
I would have to look at the net rankings, and I haven't looked at them this morning.
Yep.
To see what that has done for Ohio State. Can't hurt. I'll put it that way.
Dawson, what else, buddy?
Well, Robert from, you guys going to have to help me with this, Bremen. Thank you, guys. Texas geography isn't that great, but he asks, I want to hear about softball.
Well, give us some softball information.
4 batters with OPS over 1,000 so far through the season. As a team, their OPS is 1,015, 63 runs through 9 games, but most importantly, they've only allowed 17. Allie Enright is the leader in all these categories. Right fielder, she's 14 for 23, 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 13 RBIs, 9 runs, 4 walks, and a stolen base to top it off with an OPS of 1,800.
9-0 with 2 wins over number 14, Oregon.
Not good?
Man, they went duck hunting.
Yeah, they did. Hey, and Durham Doc got in there as well, didn't he, Matthew?
Yeah, he said, I learned Max Weiner appears to be a great hire.
There you go. That's what we learned. But we were talking about basketball at the time.
Well,
but
just whatever we learned. Yeah.
Max Weiner looks like he's having a positive impact.
How about all the transfers that came in? Braden Montgomery, the whole gang.
Home run on his very first at bat.
I mean, how about that, right? Brian Prager seems to be back.
Yeah, well, I guess so.
Yeah. Again, we're not going to get too high, but we're going to enjoy it. There's no reason not to enjoy it. There's too much that we get upset about anyway.
And I'm betting that we're going to see more consistency in baseball than maybe some other sports.
Yeah, could use that.
Yes, consistency's good.
You know what I really want?
What?
Win on the road too. Win on the road, baby.
Well, they're going to have some of those chances.
Yeah,
soon. Right.
Thank you, OB. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, we're going to talk to Jim Schlossnagle and Ryan Brauninger, everybody's favorite color guy. That and more next here on TexAgs Radio. Ronnie, help me do the math here. 31-1, is that what the weekend was? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, take off my shoes and count my toes. I think that's right.
Yeah, let's talk about it. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. David Nuño and Ryan Brauninger in studio. We go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline. We're joined by Jim Schlossnagle after a great weekend to start off Aggie baseball. Schloss, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Happy President's Day.
Happy President's Day to you. You had to come away, I know it's just one series, Schloss, but you had to come away very pleased with what you saw from all facets of the game.
Yeah, I'd have to say so. I thought that our starting pitching was solid. I thought Prager was really good. We were able to get some guys in the game for their first time as an Aggie, whether it be like a redshirt freshman yesterday like Luke Jackson or whether it be Brock Peary, a transfer. I was probably most pleased with the quality of our at-bat. There were a few pitchers from McNeese that really scattered the strike zone, but most of them were pretty competitive. And so to see guys, controlling the strike zone, that's going to be a big key to our team moving forward.
Coach, how do you feel like the heart rate was for those guys that you mentioned that were making their debuts? And the atmosphere on Friday night was as good as I can remember at an opening day at Olsen Field. And I know that even as talented as a guy like Gavin Grahovec is, it's tough to calm down and play. So how do you think they managed that throughout the weekend?
Again, that would go into what I just said. I thought they did a great job. Even Braden Montgomery, who, he's been in Omaha 2 years at Stanford, played really high-level baseball. He hadn't been in front of a crowd like that very often, and especially under the expectations everybody has for him. His first at-bat, the result of the at-bat obviously is historic, but, he stayed on some pitches. He fouled a couple balls away, and then got a ball up and hit it out. And I thought Gavin did great the whole weekend. He had some adversity where he struck out, 3 times, maybe trying to overdo a few things, but then had a great at-bat to finish it off on Saturday. And then the at-bat to lead off the game yesterday was outstanding. So I think the preparation we put into that showed itself the entire weekend.
Coach, another one of those newcomers that I thought quietly had a very productive weekend at the bottom of your order. And I know it's just a 3-game sample size, but if Ali Camarillo is going to be that type of hitter where he's just competitive, moves the baseball and gets on base, I think you guys would definitely take that with the way he plays shortstop as well.
Yeah, he's there's always those players that do it in practice and don't do it in the game, and then every now and then you have the opposite where his BP's not sexy. He doesn't really hit the ball that incredibly hard, although he had one about 100 miles an hour, and he never does that in practice. So when the lights come on, to this point, Camarillo's been great. A lot of competitive at bats. Obviously, he can play that California drop a bunt on you at any time brand of baseball, and that gives our lineup some diversity instead of just all the big strong guys that are looking to do bigger damage.
Coach, a couple more names I wanted to ask you about, and it was interesting because started the opening night with Jackson Appel and Teddy Burton in the lineup, and Teddy had a good weekend, and then Jackson, just because you have so many options, those guys weren't playing on Sunday and weren't in the starting lineup. So just speak to kind of your usage of Jackson and Teddy and where you see that going from there with those guys that are also mixing in.
Yeah, I think they did nothing wrong, Appel or Burton. It's just a matter of the matchup. McNeese didn't announce a starting pitcher except for the Friday night guy going into the weekend, so we never really knew who was going to do what. So Crawford had a good day Saturday. They were starting a lefty on Sunday, and so I wanted to get Jet Johnston a start. If it would have been a right-handed pitcher, I would have given Sorrell that start. I think what has happened, and everybody can see it, is Blake Benderup is going to have to be for a while at least a constant in our lineup, and so that DH, second base, left field, some of those positions are going to be a little bit of a rotation, and I'm going to look for every single opportunity to get different guys at bats. I wish I could have gotten Jack Bell a few more at bats. The run rule kind of screwed that up yesterday. But in today's day and age in all sports with the movement of players, we love our young players. We don't want them going anywhere. But we also have to play the best available players. So you're going to see a lot of that over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks. Really the whole season. And that way, if somebody goes down, they at least have some at bats under their belt.
Schloss, to follow that up, what about leadoff spot? Different combinations. Were you pleased with the 3 looks you gave them this weekend?
Yeah. I mean, we won all 3 games. I think Teddy up there in the front of the lineup is good, especially if the wind's blowing out, because he can do a lot of damage. And then Gavin, I heard him say in his post-game press conference, I didn't even know that he actually led off his senior year of high school. A lot of great high school players do that because otherwise they'll never get pitched to. So Gavin and I had a conversation before the game yesterday about how we were going to handle the first at bat of the game. But really beyond that, the whole leadoff hitter thing is just, it's way overrated. You just want a really good hitter up there because he's going to come up a lot. And if the bottom of the order is getting on base, then you want a guy that can drive in some runs, and Gavin did that.
Coach, I think obviously the story of the weekend and a lot of, I guess, short answers to the question about the pitching, and you went through the starters, but I was pretty impressed with some of those guys you ran out of the bullpen, and it was our first chance to look at a guy like Zane Badmiev, but just your overarching thoughts on what you saw to your bullpen.
I thought Ashenbeck was as reliable as you expect him to be. Just couldn't have picked a more perfect situation to get Isaac Morton his first college appearance with a big lead, but still in front of a great crowd, so we get to test his heart rate. And I thought he did well. I thought Brad Brutus was outstanding with new arm slot. He threw harder in the game than he had in practice. Showed a really good breaking ball, better than he's ever pitched in college. So that's a big weapon for us because we know how competitive he is. Jackson did fine. Peary got the outs we needed him to get. Zane's first inning was good. The stuff fell off a little bit in the second inning, but he still throws strikes, and so, in general, I thought it was good for the first weekend. Disappointed that I didn't get Jason Boding and Brett Antolik in the game, and maybe a few other guys, because those guys have big arms, and that's the kind of stuff that we're going to need to get out the best hitters in the SEC. So hopefully Chris can get us off to a good start tomorrow. But I really want to try to get those guys in the game as soon as we can.
Coach, you mentioned in the postgame on Saturday that you may look back at that win and really enjoy it the longer the season goes. What went into you saying that? And I thought for the most part, McNeese had a couple of innings on Saturday and Sunday where that got away from them, but they were competitive with you guys through that game, and the starter that they had on Saturday was outstanding.
Yeah, those are the kind of games, and I told the team after the game Friday and before the game Saturday that Saturday was the day you're going to find out how mature our team is, because you got a great crowd, you win 15-0, it's cold, the wind's blowing in your face. We're a team. I don't want to live and die by the home run, but the home run is a part of our offense. And when the wind's blowing like that, the wind just deflates a home run hitter. And anybody who's ever played would understand that. I didn't expect our crowd to be as great as it was. I couldn't believe how many people showed up for that game in that weather. And then their pitcher did a great job. He was a veteran. He was obviously not afraid. He filled up the strike zone, had some gyro spinning breaking ball that we couldn't get good swings on. And I felt like we were in a dogfight, and that's good for our team, and we found a way to win. So, I think those are the games you look back at the end of the year that, you win them, and, if you lose them, that's one of those losses that, golly, if you're really hurt you towards the end, if you have a good season, but a win really propels you forward. a lot that remains to be seen. We are going to have bad days, especially in the league, but for the first weekend, it was solid.
So we've gone 10 minutes into this interview. Haven't really talked Jace Lavalette. 3 homers, 4 of 12 over the weekend, 9 RBIs. Phenomenal way to start his 2024.
Yeah, and that's great for him because everybody, he didn't get off to the greatest start last year, and but we kept him in there. And I think when you get off to that good start, then you have some confidence. So he put together good at bats. He laid off pitches. Him and Braden both. With that stretch in the order now, where you go Grahovic, Lavalette, Montgomery, Schott, and Bender up. Good luck, man. That's good. Good pitchers are going to get those guys too. But if they'll just lay off the bad pitches and swing at the good ones, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch if we can keep them healthy.
Coach, I do like some of the pieces you talked about coming off your bench, and it was a small cameo, but we got to see a little bit of what Travis Chestnut can do late in games. That's got to be a fun just kind of piece of the puzzle to have on the back end of games. Obviously, he can start them as well, but to trot him out there in the 7th or 8th inning when Schott gets on base or maybe a Coffer gets on base, it can really create some havoc.
Yeah, it's a real weapon for sure. I love Travis as a player. If we could just get him to the point where he can get to first base, from that point forward, everything's pretty awesome and fun to watch. And especially on this team, he would bring a total different dynamic instead of just having the big lumbering power guys. So we're going to keep working with Travis. I would love for him to be more than just a pinch running type player, and so would he, obviously. But he's got to earn it, and he knows that. But he's a weapon, and he's a big part of the team.
And then how did you – I saw you gave the lineup card to Max Weiner after the Friday night game, but just your observations of him and his first collegiate series, calling pitches and interacting with his guys.
Yeah, he did awesome. He's got a great heartbeat, doesn't get flustered during the game. If everybody could be in the dugout. What Max is really good at knowing what he knows and asking questions on things he doesn't know. And so we have great conversation going back and forth during the course of a game. And the preparation, the preparation is at such an elite level, really at that pro level where you would think you have a team of 20 people in an analytics department that are giving you all the information. We have a few people in that, and they do a great job. A guy named Jack Mahala is a part of that, but he also takes all that stuff and just makes it so simple within the game. And I think you saw our guys just attacking the strike zone. A guy like Sadeo yesterday just filling up the strike zone pitch after pitch. That's to be credited to Shane, but also to Max. So far so good in that area.
Schloss, we've talked about him a couple of times already, not today, but just in the last couple of weeks. But Chris Cortez getting the start on Tuesday. Early returns, what you've seen from him, and what we hope to see here moving forward.
Yeah, Chris's challenge is taking I'll tell you the same thing I tell him. On a scale of 1 to 10, his effort level in a bullpen is about a 7 or an 8, and he still throws 98 miles an hour and fills up the strike zone. And I think when he gets in the game, turning the dial from 8 to 9, something happens where he doesn't have huge misses. He just isn't in the strike zone as much. And last Tuesday, I think Brawny was there. His first inning was not good, but then whatever happened, the best he's pitched in college by far. That's Friday night stuff, honestly. So hopefully he can go into that game tomorrow with that kind of heartbeat and show everybody, what he's capable of. Obviously, I believe in him because I continue to run him out there, and I'm going to continue to run him out there until somebody else, takes that job. But hopefully he'll take it and run with it. And also tomorrow, Tanner Jones throws his last bullpen, and if he feels great, I really can't wait to get him on the field this weekend.
Schloss, let's close out with this. You had a couple tweets this weekend talking about if you're not going to use your tickets, make sure you give them back to an Aggie to be there at the game, especially those behind home plate. Just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I learned a long time ago in my career, coaches should never say anything but good thing about the fans, because that'll certainly, as soon as you lose, that they're going to pop off as to why is he worried about the fans? Just worry about your team. And I'm not really. The 12th man's awesome. It's just if you can't make the game. I mean, however many home games we played, 35 home games. I get it. I'm not sure I would come to all of them if they weren't paying me to do it. So, but golly, just get the tickets back. You can get them back to the 12th Man Foundation or the ticket office. You can send them to me. I mean, I'll make sure we get students in those seats. But I actually had a member of our staff tell me that we have a few people in those seats that their opinion is that if I'm not using them, I don't want anybody else sitting in them. I mean, what are we talking about? I get it. I get it that we don't want other teams' fans sitting there, but the most important people in this equation are the players. And the players, it's important that those seats are full when it's possible to be full. So just send your tickets back in if you're not going to use them. It's pretty simple. There's 1,000 avenues to do it. Nobody's mad. It's just we have 77,000 students in a 6,000 seat stadium. So I'm not the smartest guy, but I'm pretty sure the math adds up to where we could fill the ballpark a little bit more often instead of just selling the ticket.
Schloss, great stuff, sir. Thank you so much. We'll see you on Tuesday.
All right. Have a great day. Gig 'em.
Jim Schlossnagle there on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. 4 o'clock game, right?
4 o'clock tomorrow.
Yep, 4 o'clock tomorrow. All right, we'll hit a break. Brian and I will chew the fat a little bit, talk about baseball. Of course, his debut this weekend on Aggie Baseball's broadcast. We'll talk about that and much, much more. Right now, Ascend Concrete Lifting and Support. Call them up at 979-933-8527. Don't replace it, guys. Do not replace it. Just lift it. You got concrete issues on your driveway, your patio, wherever it may be. You don't want to replace it. It's expensive. At least give it the shot to make the phone call to find out what it would take for them to lift it, how quickly it would go, and how quickly you could be driving in and out of your driveway. And by the way, I'll answer that question for you that same day, a couple hours later. They'll start at 7 a.m., let's say. By noon, no, actually by 10 o'clock in the morning, you're driving up and down that bad boy like the first day you got in there. That's what they've been doing for a long, long time. They've got 60 years of professional construction and concrete experience. And Brian Dickerson, he runs that place. He's an Aggie, and he is awesome. He'll educate you on the lifting process, tell you exactly why your concrete tends to settle, and they'll take care of it for you, right? They'll find those cracks and those crumbles there, and they'll make sure that you are taken care of. They can take care of you here locally in the Bryan College Station area, the Brazos Valley, statewide, nationwide, you name it. They'll come to you. 979-933-8527. They can raise and stabilize any form of concrete slab there residentially. They'll give you an honest opinion there. How about commercially? And, of course, industrial, municipal with those roads, those streets, those highways, those curbs or gutters, those sidewalk projects. It is Ascend Concrete Lifting and Support. Follow them on Facebook or on Instagram, or call them up at this number, 979-933-8527. Again, that number is 979-933-8527. Don't replace it, lift it. All right, TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Bronny's going to be with us here for another segment. Bronny, I'm going to read this to you because I understand the thought process, especially when many of our listeners and viewers have BAS, right? So I'm just going to read this to you. Tyler on the YouTube page, very loyal listener, is great. I'm not judging anything against McNeese State. So I say that to you, and I just want you to take that because I understand the sentiment behind it, but if it's going to bite me in the butt. But the eyeball test heading into the Tennessee game, I liked what I saw from A&M. And what was the game before that eyeball test? There was a game right before Tennessee. Remind me, Matthew, who was it?
You talking about basketball?
I'm talking basketball, but I'm going to make the transition to baseball. Okay. Regardless, they beat a bad team. But what I saw it was Missouri. Thank you. But what I saw in that Missouri game was like, I see the way they're playing. And they translated that in the Tennessee game. It hasn't happened in the last couple games. McNeese State, it's not the
Be careful here.
Well, I'm just saying the opponent here, right? You're not taking on an SEC team. I understand that opening weekend series. But what I saw from them, something we haven't seen since, what was it, 1918?
Yeah.
Pitching wise. So I set it up like that.
Well, sure, you take the competition into account, and McNeese was clearly a level below A&M in overall talent. Certainly. Like, nobody's going to make that argument. But just, I think last year they really struggled in that opening series at times with Seattle.
Yep.
And then they lost the series to Portland. They lost the series early in the year in 2022 to Penn. I'd be interested to go back and read some of these comments after they struggle with those teams. Are they saying, hey, it's too early to make any judgments? Or are they already jumping off the ship? That's where battered Aggie syndrome comes in, because if it's too early to make positive assessments, and I agree that it is too early to make definitive statements or lines in the sand about this team, but then it's also too early that if things don't go well against Incarnate Word and Wagner this week, that you have to stay, like, it has to be too early, regardless good or bad. But look, it doesn't matter who's standing in the batter's box. Whenever you strike out 36 and walk 6 after setting a school record for walks the season ago, there was a kind of a lot of pressure on Max Wiener's shoulders coming into this season. Like, the A&M fan base would have gotten pretty perturbed had they gone out there and started walking people again, right?
Yep.
We'd have been on here and like, well, not much has changed. They got a lot of work to do throwing the ball over the plate. And Ryan Prager took the ball on Friday night. And actually, you can make an argument that it started with Mike Elko, who went from the pitcher's mound and fired a strike to Jim Schlossnagle to open the season. But Ryan Prager was outstanding. Really, really good. And it was a full arsenal of pitches in the strike zone. He attacked hitters. And I think he really set the tone for the pitching staff for the entirety of the weekend. All of them did. Like, the only guy that was kind of questionable in the strike zone was Justin Lampkin. I believe he's the only pitcher that had multiple walks in an appearance of the entire weekend. They walked 6.
Yep.
The least that they had walked all of last year in a weekend was?
A 12?
9.
9, I'm sorry.
You said that stat I was driving in. I heard you say that stat.
I think it was OB who said it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
But it was 9. So they've already cut that down to 6. Now, again, yes, it is McNeese State. Yes, it is 3 games into the season. These are not trends. This is something that just happened. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Offensively, if they slug 639 and have an 1143 team OPS over the course of the season, good luck. There ain't nobody beating them. Like, these numbers are going to come down, no question. But you have to be able to analyze what your eyes have told you. Ryan Prager, regardless of who's standing in the batter's box against him, filled up the strike zone with a 90 to 94 mile an hour fastball that had great life and great spin on it. Then he backed it up with a slider and a new split change, which gives him a real that split change is going to be a weapon against right-handed hitters, especially late in counts throughout the course of the season. If he remains competitive with the fastball and the slider, that changeup will play off of. But Shane Sadeo, same thing. Just give me the ball. I'm coming right at hitters. And that's something we saw him do a little bit last year, was just a fearless, competitive strike thrower. Evan Oschenbeck was Evan Oschenbeck.
Yeah.
I thought Schloss made a really good point about Brad Rudis. I mean, last year Brad struggled. He threw strikes, but he got beat up. The stuff with the new arm slot has changed. It's given him a lot more weapons to get guys out. And he's I think that was a really encouraging outing for both Brad and the coaching staff, because there's very few guys on this roster that have pitched in big-time postseason baseball games. Brad Rudis pitched in Omaha. You know what I'm saying? Ryan Prager pitched in Omaha.
Yeah.
So that's something that I think that this coaching staff does like about this. There's not a big group of older players, but the ones that have hung around have some real skins on the wall, and they've got some real experience under their belt. And I think if Brad has kind of morphed his arsenal into a more serviceable night after night, I can get guys out from either side of the plate with this new arm slot. The two-seam looked great. The breaking ball looked really good. And Brad is a reliable strike thrower. Just gives you another right-handed option. But Zane Badmiev I thought was really good, and he's an option at the end of games in short stints. Brock Peary, what do we say about Brock Peary coming into the year? He may not lead the team in innings pitched, but he's probably going to lead them in appearances. Well, the only pitcher that made 2 appearances on the weekend was Brock Peary. We didn't even see Peyton Smith. He mentioned Brett Antolik, Jason Bowden. We didn't see Eldridge Armstrong. Like, they're still really talented arms that didn't even toe the rubber this weekend. So it's just to go back to what the guy said on YouTube. It's not a trend. These aren't what this team's going to be, but it is an encouraging start. And for you to not acknowledge that is you being willfully BAS.
Well, I mean, and let's be honest. We should be happy, right? Like, there's been too much to not be happy about around here recently. You should enjoy these good moments. You should.
Friday night was awesome, man. Yep. That was as good of an atmosphere. I mentioned it to Schloss. That was an incredible opening day atmosphere. Braden Montgomery homers in his first at-bat as an Aggie. And then Jace with the ball 5, ball 6 chant. He launches his first homer of the year over Section 12 with Mike Elko on the call. He was in the booth. Like, it was just a really cool, fun night for A&M fans. Not A&M baseball fans, but A&M fans in general. Right. And it was like, I felt like the atmosphere overwhelmed McNeese on that opening night. And then the change in the weather kind of caused a change in an approach offensively and a change in the way the games were going to look for the remainder of the weekend. I've not seen a ballpark, David, that changes more based on the weather and how it plays than Olsen Field.
Yeah.
If it's warm, that wind's blowing out, there could be some big numbers put up on the scoreboard, especially with this offense. But with that north wind blowing like it was Saturday and for a little bit of the game on Sunday, it turns it into a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. And I thought because of the way A&M attacked on the pitcher's mound all weekend, that it set like that style of pitching will be effective regardless of weather, ballpark, that kind of thing.
I do want to talk about the new players and the offense too. And to me, when you're new and you make your debut, you can press a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Like you want to impress the new fans. You want to impress your teammates. I didn't get any of that. I mean, freaking Braden Montgomery, storybook start to his run here at A&M.
You know, the last transfer that homered in their first at-bat as an Aggie?
What was that?
Boomer White.
Huh.
What did Boomer White do that year? Do you know?
What did he do? Tell me.
SEC Player of the Year.
Is that right?
So there's a little bit of a history with that. I'm not saying that Braden is going to be that. He's certainly talented enough to be in that conversation. The guy hitting behind him, or in front of him, excuse me, could do that as well. But I thought it was, you saw the maturity of Gavin Grahovic already. Just wise in the game of baseball beyond his years. He had a rough day on Saturday, and his last at bat in that Saturday game, after striking out 3 times, he changed his approach. You could see it from where I was in the box. He changed his approach. His chest had been coming off the ball. He was running out of bat at times. He was determined that last at bat. I don't care about the result. I'm going to stay on this baseball and live with whatever happens. And he hits an absolute rocket at the center fielder. They catch it for an out. But that's a huge positive as he's jogging back to the dugout. He leads off the game the next day with like an 8-pitch walk, right? And then he proceeds to have 3 hits after that. Like, that is some real maturity out of a kid that's making his first starts of his collegiate career. The sky is not even the limit for him. He could soar. As I've talked about him in the preseason as one of the best young players I've ever seen come through this program. And to see him have the impact on the game like he did in his opening weekend, I think that will go a long way for Gavin's heartbeat. Like, I don't have to get a hit right now. Right. I'm going to be in the lineup, and this is kind of a process. And I think him kind of molding and melding into the game as the weekend went on. That had to feel good for him, and now he can just kind of settle in and play.
All right, I know we talked off air, but let's talk on air before I let you go. How fun was it to be in the booth?
It was a blast.
Yeah.
That's something I really enjoyed doing, and I'm so thankful that Andrew Monaco reached out. Being in the booth with him and Tyler Pigg was just an absolute joy, and I'm looking forward to doing it more this season, and I hope that people learn things in the broadcast, and I hope they enjoy them. But for me, like, just a really cool moment for I get to go to a ballpark and broadcast a baseball game is like a job. Like what a joke that is. Like, there's people that are dealing with real life stuff day in, day out. I'm blessed enough to do what I love for a living. And I don't take that for granted at all. But it was also a really cool moment because in my radio debut in College Station on the air for baseball game, A&M's playing my alma mater. So that was just a cool kind of full circle moment for me.
Yeah, well, we're all proud of you. I've mentioned this before. If you don't follow Bronny on a game day thread when he's on there, you'll learn so much, and the broadcast, he's just adding to that. Bronny, thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
When we come back here on TexAgs Radio, open segment, you want to be part of the conversation this morning, you can certainly do that. We've got a couple things to get into. We've got around the SEC, plus what now for college hoops, right, when it comes to Texas A&M. But right now, we're talking Milliken Reserve. They are a farm-to-table community. They are in College Station. They've got homes. They got trails, they got farms, they got wide open spaces, and their mission is to build a healthy community around nature. If you like being with your family, it's a great place to go. Just hang out. Like, if it's the weather's good, you just want to go for a walk, go hiking, you want to go biking, you want to go canoeing, you just want to be outside, throw the ball. Milliken Reserve is a great place to go do all of that. People have been doing it for a long time, and it's a great community. I'm telling you, you will love it. They connect families to nature and to each other. They've got an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes walking and equestrian paths, creeks and ponds and gathering areas for sure. They've got homes in these preserved woods and creeks. They've got all the animals you can imagine: white-tailed deer, songbirds, rabbits, and turtles. And homeowners of Milliken Reserve sharing a legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation are going to come back to that pristine countryside place, an enduring resource and place to come together to relax, reflect, and explore all together. Great neighborhoods, the Creek, that's got homes on 10-plus acre wooded estates. You got the Hollow, homes in a private gated community, and you've got the Meadows in a responsive to their natural surroundings. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. millikenreserve.com. It's Milliken Reserve. So let's for a moment just talk about what it is to feel like an Aggie, right? And not want to enjoy success when success is happening, and also just revel in the misery of losing and just try to just, not all of us are like that, right? Look, I get it. I totally get it when it comes to Aggie baseball, not wanting to get too high, right? But how often has A&M sports, we have felt these preseason aspirations or early wins, but like, look, it's going to be different this year, right? So there is that. I get it. But I also think that life is too short to not enjoy the good moments. And you don't have to get way ahead of yourself like, this team's going to win it all. They might. Look, there's a reason A&M is what, number 8 is that right, Dawson? Number 8 in the preseason poll? Does that sound right?
Yes.
There's a reason they're listed as one of the top 10 teams in the country, right? There was a reason that A&M basketball was number 15 to start the year. There's a reason for that. It's with the talent you have, the coaching, and all that, right? You don't know how things are going to play out. I think sometimes people, as a defense mechanism, just don't want to embrace it. But they'll certainly embrace the bad times. It's the weird, and I do it too, by the way. This is not like I think I set myself up to feel better about it by just accepting a loss earlier than expected. With this baseball team, it will come, like every team has got their thing, right? Football, to me, I've harped on for years now. If the offensive line's good, I think you can get past some of the coaching blunders that we saw. Offensive line wasn't good. Part of it was some of the coaching issues. Part of it was they weren't coached up, right? Basketball, they've got their issues. If they're not hitting shots, it's going to be hard to win games. That's a fact. That's just who they are. If they can't, play their exact blueprint, it's going to be hard. At baseball, it's going to be the pitching, right? Because they're going to be able to mash. But for one weekend, the pitching is a storyline or a storyline in a positive way. And like, look, dude, if we could do this, what is it going to look like when we take on? Yeah, I understand the questions behind it, but you can at least enjoy it right now. If you don't want to go all in and make these definitive statements, this team is going to Omaha. I get it. But by the way, it's okay to think it based on the information we have today. Offensively, if things play out the way that, Bronny and the rest of the gang think, this team's going to hit 100 bombs. And then what? If they cut down their walks from last year, and they had a great start to that this weekend, then what? Right? So it's okay to enjoy the process. And it's also okay to not make a definitive statement on basketball. I am concerned. I am disappointed. I am worried. All that can be true. I also hold out hope. Why would I hold out hope? Well, what good does not holding out hope do? Let's be honest. Like, this team is in the middle of it. There's plenty of games left. Not plenty. Okay, I got ahead of myself. There are enough games ahead to make you say, all right, again, if they just take care of business, and I know that's a hard concept for us to think after losing to Arkansas, after losing to Vandy, but if they take care of business, at the very least, they'll be a 9-win SEC team at the very least if they take care of business. Those are big ifs. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because outside of Alabama, every game comes down to a play or two, right? So let's be on the better side of things. It'd be great. If they win by 1, I'll be happy against Arkansas. But if they win by 25, I'll be happy. I'll still have my questions going to Tennessee. Can you do to them what you did at Reed Arena? How ready are they going to be for you? What has to change in your game plan? Rick Barnes is going to have his team ready to play. I get all that. But you can enjoy the small victories. And if you don't want to, I think you're missing out on a fun part of the journey, right? If you only are in at the very end, like, oh, now that we've won all these SEC games, now I'll start watching and now I'll start believing in them. How far do you want to believe? Look, only one team is going to win the national championship this year in baseball. One team is going to win the College World Series. One. Why not be us? Well, a lot of things have to go right. You got to be lucky. You got to stay healthy. You got to hit some home runs. You've got to definitely pitch better. For one weekend, at least, it feels like the right direction. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Matthew Dawson's got Around the SEC. Mr. Dawson.
Yeah, I like celebrating the Aggies, but let's celebrate the SEC just a little bit here. Let's talk about the NBA All-Star Game. There are 24 players in the NBA All-Star Game.
Didn't watch it, believe it or not.
Well, I don't blame you. I didn't either. But, Cade in the back is my guy. He's got all the stats. He's breaking it down for me. But how many players from the SEC were playing in the All-Star game out of 24? That'd be 8.
I was going to say 8, yeah.
A third of them. Now, it's a little bit skewed. 7 of those players are Kentucky players, which is pretty crazy.
That is skewed.
Bam, Devin Booker, Anthony Davis, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyrese Maxey, Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns, all Kentucky. The only non-Kentucky player from the SEC in the All-Star game, Anthony Edwards from Georgia.
Yeah.
So, and then also today, think about this, SEC championships for swimming are today. The Aggies, both men and women's, are going to be competing in that. They should give a good showing, and I can't wait to see what kind of trophies we bring back.
Hey, I want to go back to the NBA thing for a second, just for quickly.
Sure thing.
2 things. Did I see that Anthony Davis said that he and LeBron would run Shaq and Kobe off the floor? Did I see that? Did you see that?
I did not see that.
I saw a tweet about that, and I hope it was a fake tweet. I hope. Like, maybe, well, yeah, no, it ain't happening, buddy. That's A. B, I am so disappointed in the NBA because I used to love the NBA. I still like watching Luka play. I like watching Steph play. There's certain players I like to watch. The NBA All-Star Game has never been fantastic, right? But it was must-watch TV for me. I did not watch a second of this weekend's three-point contest, dunk contest. I didn't watch the game itself, and that's sad to me. And Scott Van Pelt had a tweet about that. And I think he was talking about the All-Star Weekend, but I took it to be, fans care as much as the players care. If the players don't care, why are we going to care? And I kind of feel that same way, right? Like, if it's not that important to you, if you guys are just going to make a mockery of the game and just, it's fine. I just don't have to watch it. Cool, enjoy your weekend. It's fine. I don't have to partake in it.
I will say that there's not a lot of NHL fans out there, but the NHL All-Star Game this year and the skills competitions were done right. So NFL, NBA, MLB should be taking notes. Actually, MLB does a good job All-Star Weekend.
By the way, my little rant earlier, Tripping Ag says, my wife says, you're talking to me. Tripping Ag, when I wrote out my notes for today, actually, I didn't have any notes on that topic. It just kind of hit me. But yes, I was thinking of just you. So you tell your wife that, it was just directly for you, Tripping Ag. Matthew.
Right, and then let's talk about baseball. Of course, swimming, we're excited to see how that ends up. But baseball, in terms of like the macro picture in the SEC, half of the teams came out 3-0 on the weekend, undefeated.
Yeah, I saw that. That's
a pretty good sign.
I did see a team lose not far away, not in the SEC just yet, but I saw that. I did see that.
Yeah, San Diego. I don't know why something just came into my mind. I don't know why I thought of that just now, but something about San Diego. Man, that's a cool place, though. Really nice beaches there. Only been there once, but beautiful place, I hear.
Let me read one more. SB says, I think Nuño just cured BAS therapists around BCS, and they're cursing his name. Look, I have BAS too, right? I have situational BAS, right? Like, I don't want to live in the mud. Is that a way of phrasing it, right?
That's a good way.
I don't want to live there. I sometimes, though, find myself there, like we all do. It's normal. But I have a responsibility with this red light on and me talking to you all to present all sides of the conversation, not just take one side. Can you imagine how bad this show would be if every time it was negative around here, that's where I was? Like, look, you got to have a little bit of, you have to present the 360. Matthew, let's try to get one more thing in.
Let's get one more thing in here. Well, actually, in terms of an Aggie, we had a women's tennis player win one of the tennis athletes of the week. Her name is...
her name?
Sorry, normally because it's Mary Stoyana, because she's just absolutely unbelievable. So I'm pulling it up right now. It is Nicole Kieran. Great job to her.
Yeah. Congratulations. Calvin Nuño, your thesis is possible reality shows Ag show inconsistency this year. Doesn't support the idea that the team will not get the games they're supposed to win. Calvin, I understand your thought. But I got to watch the games, and I got to hope. And I got to present the argument that they can. I understand. Like, if it feels better for you just to take your gloves off and be like, I don't believe it. I'd rather not even work. Okay, that works for you. But I still got to do this show tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day, right? Until they fire me. And I know there's some of you can't wait, but it's not going to happen for a little while. And I want to believe, because I am a fan. Like, let's be honest. If you work at Tech, journalists may tell you they're not fans, and I use the term journalists loosely, but we're all fans, like fans of situations, fans of players. Like, that's a fact, right? And I want this team to get it done. But I get it. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Around Aggieland. Right now, though, we are talking about the Association of Former Students. Did you or someone that you know graduate from A&M within the last 12 years? If so, And you're leading by example, by the way. You can't just have graduated and just be a bum. You got to lead by example in business and in service. And you need to reach out to the Association of Former Students because they want to invite you or someone you know to nominate yourself or somebody for the 12 Under 12 Young Alumni Spotlight. So every year, the association recognizes a dozen Aggies who have graduated within the last 12 years for their business accomplishments, civic or military service, philanthropic efforts, and outstanding representation of A&M's core values. And those core values are integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service. Previous year honorees have been leaders in business and higher education, architects, petroleum engineers, nonprofit executives. 2024 nominations close on Sunday, March 31st, so be sure to submit a nomination soon. To learn more about the recognition and submit a nomination, visit tx.ag/12 under 12 nominations. Here's one for you, Kay. 979. Warning. Prime TexAgs pet peeve. What do you think it's going to be?
Either complaining.
It's complaining, but it's funny. I don't got a problem with it. Ban Nuño from wearing red on the set. It clashes with the maroon.
Why? I don't.
Oh my God, I can't see it. Where'd it go?
Does it?
What?
It's better than the yellow shirt. I'll say that.
I haven't worn the yellow shirt since.
I know. That's a good little hoodie. I like it.
Look,
I think it looks fine.
I don't think
you
about
always have to be like neutral and black on radio.
I don't think about the color. I just put it on.
You just were like, oh, yep.
I have inspiration that morning. I feel like
you even got the blue jacket too. You're full of color.
Red, white, and blue, baby, on President's Day.
Look at you. On
America.
President's Day. Might as heck yeah.
Let's go. Here. Anyway, you want to do Around Aggieland presented by Normandy State Bank? Rock Solid Banking, NormandyStateBank.com. I kind of sped through that because I didn't have it in front of me. I was trying to go through memory. Let me just make sure I say it right. Normandy State Bank, Rock Solid Banking, the website. NormandyStateBank.com. Kay Naegeli.
Well, Aggie Sports had a good weekend. Did you have a good
weekend? It was a busy weekend. It was good.
Yeah. Did you get to watch some?
I got to.
Sports,
I got to watch sports. I got to absorb.
I'm sure your kids.
It's a lot of kid time.
Yeah.
My boys had a camp at DBU.
Okay.
Dallas Baptist, a little ID camp. Annalise had a couple games. So in the Frisco area, we were busy.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. How are your little puppies doing?
Billy Liucci
Oh,
calling
look
me.
at that.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I'm on the air.
Give me a second. Anyways, Aggie baseball, heck of a weekend. They outscored McNeese State 31-1. That is an impressive performance offensively and defensively. Max Wiener's pitching staff got it done this weekend. Friday's score was 15-0. Saturday's was 6-1. They squeaked that one out with some late inning runs. And then Sunday was 10-0. That was a run roll. So McNeese could get back to Louisiana. And then on Tuesday, the Aggies will face Incarnate Word at 4 p.m. at Bluebell Park. Chris Cortez will get the start in that one. And then you can head over and watch some Aggie basketball at Reed Arena.
Much needed win.
6 p.m. Yeah, we need it rowdy at Reed. They did surrender an alarming 18 threes to Alabama on Saturday as they lost 100-75, lost by 25. It's not very good on the road. A&M continued to fire from long range, unfortunately, only made 4 of 23 and took a step back in the process. They are now 15-10 and 6-6 in the league with the big one, like I said, against Arkansas at home on Tuesday. Let's talk some softball. Number 25, Texas A&M improved to 5-0 and then 9-0 overall, winning 2 games against number 14 Oregon, 2 games against San Diego State, and then run-rolled Loyola Marymount. They will return to the Brazos Valley for the Texas A&M Invitational beginning on Thursday at 5:15. So if you have not been out to Davis Diamond, make sure to do that and support your Aggies. Also, some more women's basketball is set to host LSU tonight. Make sure to get out to Reed if you can. That is at 6 p.m.
Appreciate you very much.
Of course.
All right, when we come back on TexAgs Radio, Buzz Williams. Got to get into some tough conversations with Buzz, how they right the ship, if you will. Billy Liucci should be with us here a little bit after. We'll get into some topics with Billy. We'll talk football. We'll talk baseball. We'll talk basketball. We'll get into whatever you want to. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. The difference is real. Independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance to anyone in Texas and several other states. Their headquarters is on Highway 6 in College Station. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk a little Aggie basketball. Rough week for them, no doubt. Plenty of time still to get the team playing in the right direction before SEC tournament coming up there in Nashville. Let's go straight to the Brian Foley Law Hotline. We're joined by Buzz Williams. Buzz, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How difficult was this past week, man?
It's the roughest week we've had this year. 2 road games in a row on the road, the slowest team in the country, the fastest team in the country. And we didn't play very well in either game, and we got what we deserved.
Is it one of those things that just get back to doing what you guys do, or is it you look in the mirror and try to find different ways to get the most out of this team?
Oh, yeah. We have 33% of the conference season still remaining, so it's both. We lost. We got beat at the buzzer, and we got beat from start to finish against Alabama, and we weren't good. But, yeah, I would say I'm not sure. I want to make sure I process your question in the right way, but we have 6 games left to play, 3 at home, 3 on the road, and we're 6-6. We could easily be 4-8, and we could easily be 8-4, but we're not. And so we have 33% of the conference season remaining, and we need to do all we can to be the best we can be on both sides of the ball.
Talking to Buzz Williams here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I think when I asked the question, Buzz, it's more of a because when you guys play your brand of basketball, you're very difficult to beat. So it's like you don't need to throw away anything. It's just more getting back to the core that this team likes to get to.
Yeah, no, literally, you can ask me any question you want. I was not offended in any sense. But we've had some really big wins against some really good teams, and last week we did not play well. And it was a devastating loss, losing to Vanderbilt. We hate that happened. And then we played the fastest team in the country, and they made 18 threes, and that's hard to overcome. And so we would have had to play a lot better against both teams in order for us to win. But you can pick any game. Beating Florida by 1 point, losing to Ole Miss by 3, losing at Arkansas at the buzzer. We played 11 quad 1 games, and there are 4 teams in Division I that have won more than us. We've won 6 of those 11. And we're proud of the 11 quad 1 games. We're proud of the 6 wins. We also have 3 quad 3 losses. One of those was last week at Vanderbilt. One of those was losing at Arkansas. And one of those was losing because it was a home game to LSU. And so we're 45th in the net as of this morning. We're 6-6. We have quad 1 games remaining. We have quad 3 games remaining. We have quad 2 games remaining. And so you can ask me anything. I didn't take offense to it. I just wanted to make sure I answered your question because I may not have understood it the right way.
Buzz, it's Luch. Obviously, I mean, it goes without saying, like you said, it was the toughest week you guys had. You're going to have to come home and regroup and play, better basketball. But I want to be specific because it seems to me in the SEC, the home court advantage. Am I wrong in saying that it's always been tough, but this year, and it's worked in we watch it work in our favor, we watch it work against you guys. Is it tougher this year than in recent past? Have you noticed a difference, or is it just kind of the numbers that are saying that?
Yeah, I think they wrote one of those smart guys wrote an article 8 or 10 days ago, Liucci, talking about this year there has been more road wins than any year in Power 5. So I've always thought Auburn was a good place to play. I think that's why College Game Day always goes there. Obviously, they're also really good. I think Tennessee, we've played at Tennessee twice. I think we're 1-1 on the road at Tennessee. They're really good, great environment. We've only played at Kentucky once. Alabama has changed. In the year 1, we won there. Year 3, we won there. Year 4, we played them here. Year 5, Saturday,
It was sold out 11 o'clock in the morning. We drove through a sea of students in the bus to get to the gym 2 hours before. I think the margin is really thin, whether it's at home or on the road. Obviously, we love the environment at Reed. I just think when you get to post-February, post-Valentine's Day, it's just everything is hard. Every possession is hard, home or on the road.
And speaking of a possession, you mentioned it a second ago, you guys were one possession away up there in Fayetteville. What do you, looking back on that game, and I know that seems like forever ago, but what do you need to see from your team tomorrow night that you didn't get up there in order for you guys to get back on the winning side of things?
Yeah, there was a lot of outlier stats. We were down 20, 10 minutes into the game. We were up 1 with 7 seconds left. Solo fouled out in 18 minutes. Wildens fouled out in 16 minutes. Henry didn't play. They shot 40 free throws. 4 had 41 points. Like, there were a lot of outlier stats. We need to defend without fouling. We need to do just as good or a better job on the glass than we did when we were at Arkansas. And I know we've done it some and had some success, whether that's Iowa State, but we've also got down 20 against Houston and made it a one-possession game, got down at Arkansas, came back and was up 1. We don't need to – if we're going to have a 20-point differential, we want it to be a plus, not a minus. But we have to we need everybody to be healthy between now and tomorrow night's game. That would be one thing. I think partly Solo fouled out, partly Wildens fouled out because Henry wasn't available. And then they're great at getting fouled, and we have to defend without fouling. And then if they get a shot, we need to finish with the rebound if they miss it. And then on the other end, we need to shoot more balls than they shoot, and we need to make more free throws than they attempt.
Talking to Buzz Williams here on TexAgs Radio, do you prefer the quick turnaround after a loss where you want to get to play again, or do you want more time to kind of focus on some things?
A few things on that. Number one, I think the bye is good for everybody for the first time. The difference in the bye is when do you get it? And there's no way to know when you're going to get it because of the algorithm. Like, I thought our bye came at a good time, and then we played Alabama on Saturday, and they had just had their midweek bye. So in that particular week, our midweek game was on the road, and then we go on the road to play the team that just finished the bye. So that's the bye is good. I know it gives another week to the season, so it's 10 weeks instead of 9. But then I think the other thing for how we operate is when you play Wednesday, Saturday, your day off is going to be on Sunday. When you play Tuesday, Saturday, your day off is going to be on Wednesday. And I don't think that that's necessarily Texas A&M. I think that's throughout the league. What I would say that the transition is difficult is when you play Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, when that's a 3-game stretch, when you're playing the first Wednesday that I mentioned, that means your previous off day was that Sunday. So you're off on Sunday, you practice Monday, you practice Tuesday. So then you play Wednesday, whether that's on the road or at home. You're going to practice Thursday. You're going to practice Friday. You're going to play Saturday, whether that's home or on the road. And then you're going to, because you play Tuesday, you're going to practice Sunday, practice Monday, play Tuesday. So when it's 9 consecutive days of work, that's a lot. And if those 3 games are all at home, that helps. if 2 of those 3 games are on the road, then you add that to that 9-day span. And so for us, the at Missouri, Tennessee, at Vanderbilt, that was the Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday. 2 of them are on the road. I don't think that there's any way around it, but I think when you are in that, you're trying to solve how to handle each day without knowing you got to win every possession. How do you manage those 9 days? And so, like, for instance, we're about to transition back the other way. So we play Tuesday tomorrow, so that means Wednesday is our day off. But next week, we play Wednesday, Saturday. So it's kind of like when you used to set the clock back. You know, you always, oh, man, I get an extra hour of sleep. Well, when you play Tuesday, Saturday, and the next week you play Wednesday, Saturday, that means you're off on Wednesday. So we'll be off Wednesday after we play Arkansas. And then we play Saturday on the road at Tennessee. But we're off on Sunday because we don't play again until Wednesday. So it always turns back. But when you're living in the 9 days in a row, that's a lot. So not complaining about it. That's just the way it works out. But I would say that's more on a coach's mind than hurry up and let's play on Tuesday.
Yeah. Buzz, I'm watching Saturday. I've been watching Bama this year, and just them, like you said, they play so fast, and I think it's the 3rd time in 4 games they shot 43s. We always talk about the Aggies and the team you watch every day, but you're coaching against, and you guys are playing against a couple different opponents every week. Is there a player or 2 that stand out in the league this year that you guys have faced, or a particular offense even, that you would say, man, so far those have been the toughest for us to guard, and probably for anybody that plays them? Just any offense or player in particular that have stood out to you when you're scheming and coaching against them?
Yeah, at Vanderbilt, they're statistically the slowest team relative to tempo in Power 5. And then statistically speaking, Alabama is the fastest team in regards to tempo. So 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. I think that Tennessee is for sure closer to fast than they are slow, but they're not playing exclusively money ball the way that Alabama does. Auburn, not necessarily slow, but not near as fast as Alabama or Tennessee. Kentucky, faster than they've ever been in Coach Calipari's career as a head coach because of their roster. I think they're playing a little different. I don't know. Florida is completely different, Liucci, than they were last year with Castleton.
Yeah.
They signed 7 guys out of the portal. So they're for sure not slow. I think Alabama is an extreme on the spectrum. Vanderbilt is an extreme on the spectrum. Tennessee is closest to Alabama, with Tennessee and Kentucky in regards to pace. Those, as far as players, I think that's why the league has continued in the numbers that matter. Partly it's helped that the SEC is playing a tougher non-conference schedule collectively, not just Texas A&M, but the league. I think that helps. And then, similar to what's happening within the league, like we play Alabama and they're 5th in the net. When we played Alabama, I think we were 42nd in the net. We lose, obviously, by a wide margin. And the next day, we're 44th in the net. But Florida's, when we beat Florida, at that time, it was quad 2. And they went on a run, and now it's quad 1. So Memphis loses yesterday to SMU. SMU beat them bad. We win at SMU. So this morning we bump up a couple of notches. Ohio State beats number 1 Purdue yesterday. That helps us. So, it's kind of like the stock market. Like, I think the reason the league has continued to perform better and better is, yes, the league is better. The league has more players, more good players, but also who we are playing in non-conference, not just Texas A&M, everybody. I think that's kind of rising the tide a little bit. And so some of this, like our 3 quad 3 losses, are within our conference. Regardless of whether they were in our conference or not, you don't want to lose quad 3 games. But, like, what's hurting us, I think we're 42nd or 43rd today. What's hurting us is not quad 1. We have more quad 1 wins than every team other than 4 teams. What's hurting us are the quad 3 losses.
Yeah.
The quad 3 losses are at Alabama by 1 at the buzzer, at Vanderbilt by 1 at the buzzer, and then losing to LSU because it was a home game. And so our problem is not top heavy. Our problem is the quad 3s. And so we have 6 games left. There's a lot to play with. Those numbers will continue to change. We hope Florida continues to stay a 1. We hope nobody drops from a 2 to a 3. Like Ohio State was kind of on that verge of dropping.
Yeah.
Them winning yesterday kind of helps us. So anyway, I know that's a little bit too much.
Well,
math,
to me,
that's what a lot of this has come down to.
To me, I mean, look, I no one wishes y'all won those buzzer beaters more than you, and maybe you guys would be on the right side of a couple more of them. I know we had the Florida dramatic finish. You haven't even mentioned the Ole Miss one. I mean, so hopefully those those last possessions start falling in the way of the Maroon and White. But that is what you just talked about is what makes basketball, college basketball, such a fun follow, and being in the discussion in March and being a part of that field, the projections and all that, because it's nice to go home on a Monday when A&M's not playing and start your week off by watching Big Monday and worrying about what an Ohio State team that just lost a coach does against Purdue and what some random West Coast conference. It's the fun of the sport. I think it's why it's the most fun to follow in the regular season in college athletics.
Well, like it's as a coach, to your point, play the best teams you can play, win as many games as you can win, and then when your game is over, become their biggest fan.
Yeah.
Like, I hope SMU wins every game. Yesterday, I didn't know who to cheer for because we won at SMU, but we lost at home to Memphis.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden SMU is winning. I think SMU won by 30. Okay, well, that helps us in some regards on half of it. But the other half is we lost to Memphis at home. Memphis's team has changed. Arguably their best player tore up his knee. And so now that's kind of changed. And now Memphis, when we played them, it was quad 1-ish. And now they're quad 3-ish, but their team has changed because of injuries. But you want your net to go up without you having to play, to your point.
Exactly.
And then, I think that, not to sound like Don Haskins or Pat Foster or some retired coach with all the wisdom, but
way back,
you're probably going to win a game or two that you shouldn't by 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to lose a game you shouldn't by 1 or 2. And just like we lost to Vanderbilt and Arkansas, we can say, man, wish we would have won both of them. Those were quad 3s, and we'd be 8-4, and we wouldn't have the angst we have. Yeah, that's true. Or we couldn't have not won against Florida by 1 and pick another
Kentucky
game, whatever game that would be. I mean, Kentucky by 2 possessions, and now you're 4-8, and now there is no angst. You ain't in the mix.
Yeah.
We played 67% of the conference season, not justifying that we're 6-6, owning that we're 6-6. But the point differential between those 12 games is 0.42.
Is it really?
That's the difference. .42. Okay, that's not even a point.
Yeah.
So, okay, Buzz, you got beat at Arkansas by 1. Yeah. You lost at Vanderbilt in an even crazier. Solo blocked the shot, and he still got it back, shot it before the buzzer went off. You lost by 1. Think about the ending of the Florida game. That was a fun TexAgs conversation on Monday.
Yeah.
Hey, Ford traveled and give them the ball back with 19 seconds and get 3 stops in a row, and Texas A&M, in essence, never had the ball inbounded. But you won, and so, we beat Florida. That's quad 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go through all of that. But I think some of that over time, it all kind of probably becomes a push. But through 12 games, with 6 games remaining, 3 at home, 3 on the road, all the weekend games on the road, all the weekday games at home, the difference after 12 games, when you played 6 at home and you're 4-2, you played 6 on the road and you're 2-4, the difference is .42. So, man, I wish we'd shoot the free throw better. Yeah, I agree. I wish we wouldn't have let Alabama score 18 threes. I agree. But there's not one thing that you go, hey, if we could do this. Yeah, our effective field goal percentage, that means if you shoot a 3, it's worth a little bit more than if you shoot a 2.
Yep.
Our effective field goal percentage is 341st. That's bad. We need to make more shots.
Yeah.
But nobody knows that our offense is ranked 34th.
Mm-hmm.
How? How is our offense ranked top 40, but our field goal percentage is among the worst? It's because we're doing a lot of other things. I know shooting is a big part of it. But the things other than shooting, man, our guys are giving their best. We don't turn it over. We offensive rebound. We get fouled. I'm not sticking up for it. We're 6-6, and the point differential is .42. But our offense is ranked 34th, and that's taking into account we're 341st in effective field goal percentage.
Right.
Well, like last year. Last year, our offense was ranked 34th. And everybody's like, man, Buzz, y'all can't shoot. We need to recruit better shooters. I know, we're working on it. Last year, we shot the ball 3% better. 3%.
Really?
3.
That
okay,
I would not have expected.
And I'm not defending myself. I'm not defending our program. We're 6-6. The differential is .42. We need to win the games we're supposed to win. We should have won at Arkansas, whether Henry played or not. Solo, don't foul out. Hey, don't foul them so much that they shoot 40 free throws with one guy shooting 22. Like, I'm not going to get emotional. I live this. I know exactly what it is, and if I have time to expand on it, I can expand on it. Nobody knows that our offense is 34th because everybody thinks offense is just when you shoot. That is a part of it. But we need to make more. I know. But our defense was 3rd going into the game against Alabama because they scored it so well. Our defense is now 4th. So, there's a lot of margin, and they're all razor thin. And how's this going to play out? I don't know.
Yeah, because it's not changing.
But I know we have.
That.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to change.
Yeah.
And so we have to continue to work to find ways to adjust, knowing what the margins are going to be. And backing away from it is not the answer. We've got to run to it. And so we're going to run to it, and we're going to give our best today at work. And then we'll see if that's good enough to go 1-1 and get the split against Arkansas. And then we're off on Wednesday. And Tennessee's mad, and I'm not on social media, but I guess they put in drills now to run me over, so I got to stay off the court.
I forgot about that.
We gotta get better on Thursday to see if we can figure out a way to go 2-0 against Tennessee.
Buzz, great stuff, man. Thank you for your comments and your passion. We'll talk to you very soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Buzz.
you.
Thanks.
Buzz Williams here on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. We'll come back with more with Billy here in a moment. Right now, we're talking Costa Vida, delicious place. You know, you can go to Reed Arena and get their food, right, for the men's and women's basketball games. You can come in right when you get inside. You can go and get your Costa Vida on. But now you can also go to Costa Vida for games at Olsen, right? Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill will have a concession stand at Olsen Field down the third base line. Their menu consists of chili lime chicken and sweet pork burritos, chili lime chicken and sweet pork Baja Bowls, chips and queso, key lime pie, and for cooler weather, Mexican hot chocolate. In the store, they have the Costa Vida Home Run Combo, a favorite option for Jace Lavalette, and, of course, our number 12, Ryan Targash. The Home Run Combo is an entree with sweet pork enchiladas, smothered in house-made queso with rice and beans and a large drink for $11.99. I see some pictures, both Targo and Jace in a blue Costa Vida jersey. They're eating some of the food. It's fantastic. You'll certainly want to check it out. Go say hi to Holly when you do go by their Costa Vida in South College Station. 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station. Aggie owner and operator. Remember, they are 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station to go to inside the store. You can also get them at Reed Arena for the home basketball games, for men's and women's, and, of course, at Olsen for all the baseball games. Check it out. It's Costa Vida. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Hello, Billy.
Hi, David.
What's going on?
Nothing. I'm sorry about the, I guess my condolences for the loss Saturday night. Volk, you took a,
What are you talking about?
First, was it first
A
or
Real
second
Madrid
round?
Spaniard won.
First or second round knockout you took there.
Do I look like Volk or something?
Yeah,
Oh.
that you look like, we got your UFC shirt on.
Yeah.
You've got the UFC hair. So
Ilia
nobody,
Tempura.
nobody can pull it. It doesn't get in your eyes.
From
you look
Spain.
like Volkanovski.
The guy who beat him is Sergio Ramos' good friend, a Real Madrid fan, and a Spain legend, 26 years old.
Yeah, he's good.
Ilia Tempura.
Yeah. Is that how you say it?
That's how I say
Ilia?
it. Ilia, yeah.
I can't. I'm so blind.
Did you
I thought
watch?
it said Illa.
He got Volk, that's
Yeah, I
two
watched
fights
it.
in a row.
Yeah, he's done. He's washed. It's amazing in that sport how fast how fast it happens. But it'll happen that quickly in really any kind of combat. Going back to when you're growing up, that happens in boxing a lot too. It's just once
you get knocked out,
there's a certain thing that happens with that type of knockout that you're not quite the same. And you can see it occasionally happen with quarterbacks. It's not from a game, or rarely is it a specific hit, but like you have one of those seasons and you could never be. That's why you're so worried about quarterbacks early in their careers, both in college and the pros. You don't want them to get shell-shocked that early. But boxing's different. I think there's something to you just don't recover your chin. You're just kind of never the same after one of those vicious knockouts. I think it happened to Usman, and he
did.
So yeah,
he's not the same. We'll find out if Adesanya is the same.
Same thing happened with
Sean Strickland.
What's his name? Anderson Silva.
Yep.
I mean, it catches up to you really quickly, Father Time. That's why these guys like LeBron, Tom Brady, these guys that can play so much longer than their contemporaries at a high level. I mean, anybody can just not anybody, but a lot of guys can just kind of hang around and still be serviceable. But the people that can maintain that kind of level in any sport, I think you really appreciate it.
I'm going to read this tweet from Jordan Schultz. The Buccaneers had a soft deadline today for an extension with Mike Evans, but both sides remain far apart. Sources say Tampa is set to take on $7.4 million in dead money by not getting the deal done today. Talks will continue, but my understanding is Evans is trending toward becoming a free agent, barring unexpected change in discussions.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If you're Mike Evans, why do you stay?
I'm going to give you the only reason.
There's one. Yeah.
It's cool to play your entire career at one place, and it felt like Tampa was a team that was heading in the right direction at the end of the year. It felt that way.
I think I think there's two reasons he would stay. Him and Baker Mayfield seem to have some chemistry, and really Baker seemed to understand the value of attacking down the field, getting the ball to Mike Evans down the field, over the top, what he can do. That year, this past year for Mike was pretty spectacular. And Mike's on a collision, he's on a trajectory towards the Hall of Fame. He's might already be there. He's getting very close. He's not there yet. Like if he decided I'm not playing football anymore. But if he even if last year was his peak and then he starts kind of the 3-4 year, grind down, what we were just talking about, he's going to be in with those career numbers and the Super Bowl. But Mike is the most competitive dude that he's as competitive as anyone I've seen come through here. Not just year to year, not week to week. I mean, snap to snap. I mean, practice rep to practice rep. That dude does not want to lose. He wants to win. I'm sure he looks at Tampa, and that is the one thing that could hold him there is like, we could win here. They could have beaten Detroit. They could have been in the NFC Championship game last year, and that was after, it took a while for it to come together for them. But I just think with all the money that's out there, and it's Tampa versus, and I know there's a lot of teams he wouldn't look at or that wouldn't look at him because of the money, but Tampa versus the rest of the league, essentially.
Right.
I got to think that Mike is going to kind of look around and go, man, and I'm just making up places, but I mean Houston. Kansas City. Dallas, or we mentioned Detroit. I mean, I know Detroit's not like a destination city.
But they're a hot team.
You go, could we win a Super Bowl if I went there with Amon-Ra St. Brown in that running game? Veteran QB in golf. red-hot offensive coordinator. I just mentioned like 4 teams. There's probably, and it might not be one of them, but there's probably a half dozen destinations he and his agent are looking at right now that are going, not only can you have the QB, but you also have the much clearer path to a Super Bowl.
Yep. Or
you're getting closer to home. So I don't think he'll end up staying in Tampa Bay. I kind of never have. That seems like a pretty significant step towards that happening today.
Yep. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. We'll talk some baseball. The weekend itself, we did talk basketball. Maybe Billy give some thoughts on that and baseball, and we'll get to your text messages at 979-693-1150. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. It would be premature and unwise to count out this Aggie basketball team, Billy.
Of course.
Because, as he said, there's still, a third of the season left, even though it's coming down to the end. There's been enough flashes of, all right, they're getting it. And there have been some flashes like, oh, hold on, what happened here? Looks like you have a thought you want to get into.
Yeah, I mean, they were flat. You just didn't want to see this team on the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
And after the non-conference portion of the schedule, while I did wish they would have gotten another significant, meaningful win. I mean, the Ohio State one just crept back into, it stayed relevant, but like the one big one, it's just turning out to be very big, was that win over Iowa State. But like, I just wanted them to get through Houston, and that was the one where that was probably the one that stood out, where if you could have finished that, as you look at the rankings right now and you see those 1 and 2 seeds and you see U of H and Tennessee, and you could have you're one, really a layup in the end one away from beating U of H, and you've got wins over number 2 seeds, top 2 seeds anyway, and then the Tennessee win, and there's a couple other quality ones in there. Still, though, coming out of conference play, I did not think this team would be fighting the bubble again, and they are. They're going to be. I think anything short of, well, I say that if they go 4-2 in their last 6, then I think they're comfortably in.
Yes.
I don't think it's a discussion, and I do think because of certain other metrics, and I think a 9-9 would probably get them in, but then I think you're on the bubble.
You're sweating.
You're sweating it. Of course you don't write them off when you look at who they're playing. I mean, yeah, okay. At Tennessee, that's pretty damn daunting, and that place is going to be loaded for bear when the Aggies go in there. They're going to be loaded for buzz. They're going to, like you said, they're going to be loud. They're going to be booing. They're looking to avenge a recent defeat. That is as challenging a game left as there is and that anyone plays in that conference is a road revenge game against Tennessee. The only thing comparable right now would be a road revenge game against Bama, right? So, but the other 5, you look at the other 5, and I think the ones that they have got to win are, some people would say at Georgia. I would say you've got to win the home games against Arkansas and Mississippi State. And you should. And I know Mississippi State's a tough team. They're a lot tougher at home. They're still tough on the road. That's a tough basketball team with Tolu Smith, and they play a style that, they beat A&M last year when A&M was rolling when they went in there to the hump. So those 2, I feel like at home, you can call them must-wins now, starting tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And I think you've got to get one on the road. Georgia and Ole Miss. Ole Miss came in here and beat you. They've been kind of up and down, but they're good. They're tough. That's the end of the year. One of those 2 you got to go get. And I think if they do that, they'll be fine. The key, I think, the swing game, if you're, if you're comfortable or not, is this home date against South Carolina. And I know the Gamecocks have been really good this year, but they're not above it. They lost 2 in a row.
I think they've lost 2 out of 3.
They lost. They got blown out by, I think 2 in a row, right? They got blown out by Auburn, and I think that was this week.
Right.
And then Saturday they got beat at home by LSU. So maybe you're catching them at the right time. So yeah, it's certainly too early to write it off, because to me, if you just say, how good a basketball team is Texas A&M, and you ranked A&M in their 6 opponents, Tennessee's the best team. Aggies did beat them handily, but Tennessee is clearly the best team of the 6. South Carolina's 2, but I don't think it's by a wide margin, and they're coming in here. The rest of the teams, like Georgia, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Ole Miss, you can't sit there and say that those teams are necessarily better than A&M. And in some instances, they're not. So there's not a game on the schedule that you go, Texas A&M's A game, you're still going to have a hard time winning it. The only one would be in Knoxville this Saturday. And again, you put a little asterisk by that, because that's a team that just maybe matchup-wise, the Aggies have won the last 2 meetings between the teams.
What are the conversations like if they have a 2-0 week?
Well, then we'll talk about that if they do.
Yeah.
But if I'm sitting here as a gambling man, and I'm not, which is why I'm usually wrong, which is why I'm not a gambling man, but you'd say likely, per the Vegas will tell you, they'll probably be 7-7 in the league coming out. And then there's 4 games left. and you're going to want to see A&M, can they finish on a 3-1 kick with 2 of those at home? If they can go get one road game and defend Reed Arena, I think you're in comfortably. We're not sweating out Selection Sunday. And I think right now, outside of wanting to win out, that's the real goal. And I think looking at that final 6 games and going, can they get to 4-2? If they play like they did this past week, I don't know that they won't make the tournament.
Yeah.
But if they play like they did the week before, they probably do go 4-2. Hell, if they play like they did the week before, they might go 5-1. So I don't know what to expect from this team at this point. But if they can just dial in and be just tough as nails and just play that way, I think we look up and they're in the dance for the second straight year.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back for final thoughts on some baseball. Get to your text messages as well at 979-693-1150. You're listening to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. All phone calls have been on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. Good people can have a bad day. Call Brian Foley Law, 936-596-0407, serving Houston, the Woodlands, Conroe, and the Brazos Valleys. Time to end the day with Double Daves. Caller number 12 at 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls. with reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. As a reminder, they are not open on Mondays. All right, we're finishing it up with Billy Liucci here. What a start to the season for Aggie baseball, man. Pitching was on display, which I was happy to see, obviously, after last season struggling. And the offense lived up to all the preseason hype.
Yeah, I thought it was a tremendous opening weekend. All you could ask for, right? I mean, what was it? Was it 31-1?
31-1.
1. One run allowed for the pitching staff. And there were a couple of moments there, particularly Saturday, but even Sunday, where it was like, look, if it was last year's pitching staff and you mix in a couple more walks or a hit batter or a pitching change, and that game might look totally different Saturdays as you started to get in the later innings. But you had pitchers that worked their way out of trouble. You had outstanding relievers come in. Not surprising that Evan Oschenbeck was part of that, but he's the constant there.
Yep.
But I thought tremendous pitching from wire to wire, starters, relievers, everything. That's a great feeling early in the season, and you can kind of go up and down the lineup, and there were some real, the home runs were there. Despite early in the season, a lot of times, you get that wind blowing in. You don't see the big home run numbers. You see Jace with 3. Braden Montgomery leads it off with 1. Bender up, we'd heard a lot about, and he got some hits there. But the guys that really stood out to me were Grahovic and Ali Camarillo. And so when you're watching that game Sunday, and it was 9-1 in the order, hitting like they did. And I think there were a couple of times, at least, that Camarillo led off an inning. Kind of goes into what Slosh always talks about with that 8-9 guy, what you want them to be. That was probably my two. Those were the two that I was most like. If you came out and said what performances were you most excited about on the weekend, I'd say the pitching, top to bottom, and then those two guys. And the pitching should obviously the bats are heat up as the season goes on too, but the pitching to me will only get better. Not only as these guys get their feet wet and deeper into the season, but also as we're going to see more arms introduced as we go. So to me, that's what I'm most excited about. I know it's McNeese, and I also think people need to understand. I mean, McNeese could be a really bad baseball team this year, but last year, I think, and even 2 years ago with the Final Four team, that Saturday game is one that was kind of one of the type games A&M would have lost early season, and they didn't. And it doesn't matter if it was McNeese or if it was Penn or if it was was it Portland State or Sacramento? So who
Seattle.
They lose? Seattle, yeah. They'd drop a game like that, and they drop multiple one. Lamar on a Tuesday early. That Saturday game, that was that type of game, and not only did they not lose it, they ended up winning it comfortably. The bats came alive in that very next inning. They got guys on base. They worked counts. I mean, it just looked like a veteran, really good, really well-coached baseball team that with a lot of poise. It doesn't matter. Again, like Texas dropped 1 to San Diego. They could have lost that series. You saw Florida drop game. A lot of teams in the SEC drop a game, and a lot of those teams that beat SEC teams this weekend are really not going to be that good. It's just early in the season. You get in a close game in the 6th inning on, you're in a danger zone early in the year. You have a coach that's trying to figure out who to bring in what moments of the game. You got guys that are pressing early. So to sweep and to give up 1 run and to average more than 10 a game, that is beyond impressive. I don't care who the opponent is. It's very encouraging. Obviously, they got to build on that. We'll learn a lot more about these guys in another couple weeks, but I'm to the point in college baseball where I'm like, everybody's going to learn about who they are one time and one time only, and that's when SEC play starts. I mean, A&M can go smack around Arizona State, USC, and it'll feel great, but if you start SEC play 3-6, it's a whole different ballgame. And the Aggies could drop a couple that we don't think they should between now and the start of conference play, and they win their first 3 conference series, it's a whole nother conversation. So that league is so tough that this is just about, to me, building confidence. It doesn't hurt to keep adding fan support and getting the excitement building, but it's more about figuring out who can hit in the clutch, what your lineup's going to look like in terms of the order of it, and then also, getting your pitching in order. And that they got a few more weeks to be able to do that.
Yeah, Chris Cortez tomorrow. Looking forward to seeing what he is able to do. Billy, thank you, sir.
All right, Nuño.
All right, tomorrow on the program, Shireen Williams, Justin Lanham, Tom Hart.
By the way.
Yes, sir.
Somebody with Chris Cortez's stuff on Tuesday, you win a lot of those games versus not losing very many of them, and that's a big difference when we get to the end of a season.
Yes, sir.
Especially with games like some of the Tuesday night ones the Aggies have to play.
Thank you, Billy. That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Monday. We're going to see you all mañana.